Shock in Los Angeles. Tom Hanks, the star of Forrest Gump, walks into the upscale Lumière wearing worn-out jeans and a t-shirt. No luxury. The proud waitress Ashley judges him, but soon finds out who she's dealing with. His calm response and lesson in empathy shock the restaurant and go viral. Watch how one dinner changed everything. The Golden Gates of Lumière, Beverly Hills' most exclusive restaurant, gleamed under the California sunset, their discreet elegance whispering wealth. Inside, the walls shimmered with a soft, tasteful gold, and tables draped in pristine white linen sparkled with crystal glassware, reserved months in advance by millionaires who never glanced at menu prices. The air buzzed with the clink of fine china and the murmur of elite conversations, the kind where deals were sealed over truffles and champagne. That evening, the restaurant hummed with its usual energy, every table occupied, the aroma of saffron-laced lobster and aged Bordeaux filling the space. Ashley, a 28-year-old waitress with sharp cheekbones and an air of ambition, glided between tables. Her black uniform, tailored to perfection, matched her polished bun and the diamond stud earrings she wore, a symbol of her pride in Lumière's prestige. For Ashley, appearances were everything. The cut of a client's suit, the shine of their jewelry, the brand of their watch. These details decided who deserved her best service and who didn't. She was Lumière's reflection, luxurious, exclusive, and ruthless toward anyone who didn't fit. Then he walked in. Tom Hanks, the Hollywood icon known for his everyman charm and roles like Forrest Gump, stepped through the entrance with his trademark quiet confidence. He wore faded jeans, slightly frayed at the hems, a plain gray t-shirt and scuffed sneakers. Clothes so ordinary they screamed invisibility in this opulent setting. His salt and pepper hair, slightly tousled, framed a face lined with warmth but unadorned by luxury. No Rolex, no tailored suit, no flash of gold. Just a man who looked like he'd wandered in from a casual stroll on Melrose Avenue. To the regulars, he might have been a ghost. To Ashley, he was an intruder. She froze mid-step, a tray of champagne flutes balanced in her hands, her hazel eyes narrowing. The buzz of the room dimmed as she sized him up, her lips tightening into a line. "He can't be serious," she muttered under her breath, forcing a professional smile as she approached. "Good evening, sir," she said, her voice crisp, tinged with impatience. "Do you have a reservation?" Tom looked around, his blue eyes calm, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Actually, no," he said, his voice steady and warm, like a favorite uncle's. "I was hoping there might still be a table available." He glanced at the crowded room, seemingly oblivious to the stares, some curious, others judgmental, burning into him from the silk-draped patrons. Ashley sighed inwardly, her grip tightening on the tray. This man clearly didn't belong. His outfit clashed with the Armani suits and Dior gowns filling the room, his casual stance an insult to Lumière's sacred aura. "Well, let me see what I can do," she replied, her tone clipped, as if already dismissing him. She led him through the maze of tables, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor, to a corner near the kitchen, the spot she reserved for clients who, in her mind, didn't merit center stage. It was dimly lit, far from the chandelier's glow, a place where the elite wouldn't notice him. "This table will be perfect for you, sir," she said, placing a menu in front of him with a flourish, her smile tight. "Just a heads up, the prices are listed next to each dish, so there won't be any surprises." Her words carried a subtle jab, a test to see if he'd flinch. But Tom simply nodded, his expression unchanged, opening the menu with the ease of someone browsing a diner's specials. He was unfazed, his calm demeanor a quiet challenge to her assumptions. Around them, the restaurant buzzed on. A couple in a nearby booth whispered, their eyes flicking toward Tom. "Who's that?" the woman murmured, her diamond necklace catching the light. Her companion shrugged, adjusting his tailored jacket. An older man in a dark suit, seated alone near the center, watched intently, his sharp gaze missing nothing. The tension was subtle but growing, a ripple beneath Lumière's polished surface, as Ashley returned to her duties, already plotting how to handle this unexpected guest. Little did she know, this ordinary-looking man was about to turn her world upside down. Ashley's irritation simmered as she watched Tom Hanks flip through the menu, his fingers brushing the embossed leather as if he were in a roadside diner. The contrast between his frayed jeans, gray t-shirt, and scuffed sneakers and the opulence of Lumière gnawed at her. To her, he was an anomaly, a man who didn't belong, yet ordered with the confidence of someone who owned the place. She crossed her arms, her polished bun catching the chandelier's light, and muttered, "He's either clueless or bold." Minutes later, she returned to his table, notepad in hand, her hazel eyes glinting with disdain. "Have you decided what you'll order?" she asked, her tone icy, eager to wrap this interaction and move on. Tom looked up, his blue eyes steady, a warm smile softening his weathered face. "Yes, I'll have a lobster with saffron sauce and a glass of Chateau Lafite to pair," he said, his voice calm, almost melodic, as if sharing a secret. He didn't blink, didn't flinch, not even at the prices she knew would shock most. Ashley stifled a laugh, her pen hovering over the notepad. Lobster with saffron sauce? Chateau Lafite? Those were Lumière's priciest items. $150 for the dish, $300 for the wine. "Are you sure?" she pressed, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Those are quite an investment. You might want to check the menu again." She tilted her head, challenging him, expecting him to back down or stammer. But Tom's smile only widened, unfazed. "I'm sure," he replied, his tone gentle but firm. "Sometimes, the best things are worth the splurge." Her jaw tightened. This man's composure was maddening. She scribbled the order, her movements sharp, and added, "I'll bring the wine list, just to confirm the price." One last chance to reconsider. She spun on her heel, her heels clicking like gunfire on the marble, leaving him to sit undisturbed. In the kitchen, she leaned against the counter, venting to a fellow waiter. "Can you believe him? Ordering like he's at a steakhouse, dressed like that? He'll regret it when the bill comes." Back in the dining room, whispers spread among the patrons. A couple in a nearby booth, draped in Chanel and Armani, exchanged glances. "Who is he?" the woman murmured, her diamond bracelet glinting. Her husband shrugged, adjusting his cufflinks. "Some nerve, showing up here like that," he muttered, but his tone carried curiosity, not disdain. An older man in a dark suit, seated alone near the center, observed silently, his sharp eyes tracking every move. The tension thickened, a quiet storm brewing beneath Lumière's polished facade. Ashley returned with the wine list, slapping it onto the table with a forced smile. "Here's the Chateau Lafite, $300 a bottle, as I mentioned. You might want to pick something lighter." Her words were a dare, her gaze piercing, but Tom barely glanced at the list. "That sounds perfect," he said, his voice unwavering. "I trust your recommendation." His calm shattered her expectations, leaving her speechless for a moment. She couldn't fathom it. He seemed immune to her judgment, his serenity a silent rebuke. As she walked away, the restaurant's buzz grew louder. A group of women in evening gowns giggled, speculating about the mystery man. A waiter nearby whispered, "He's either loaded or delusional." The older man in the dark suit leaned back, his expression unreadable, but his interest deepened. Ashley's frustration boiled. Tom's refusal to react, to bend under her scrutiny, felt like a personal affront. She didn't know it yet, but this ordinary-looking man was about to teach her a lesson she'd never forget. The dining room of Lumière buzzed with its usual elegance, but a sudden shift rippled through the air. Ashley stood near the kitchen, her arms crossed, watching Tom Hanks from afar as he savored his lobster, his calm demeanor unshaken by her earlier jabs. She shook her head, convinced he'd crumble when the bill arrived. But before she could return to his table, Richard, the tall, impeccably dressed manager, strode across the marble floor, his face a mix of shock and reverence. He halted at Tom's corner table, bowing slightly, his voice low but carrying a tremor of excitement. "Mr. Hanks, what an honor to have you with us tonight," Richard said, his eyes wide. "Why didn't you let us know you were coming? We would have prepared something special." The room fell silent, The clink of glasses and murmurs fading as every head turned toward the unassuming man in the faded jeans and gray t-shirt. Ashley froze, her notepad slipping from her fingers, clattering to the floor. "Mr. Hanks?" she whispered, her heart racing. Tom Hanks, the Tom Hanks, star of Forrest Gump, Castaway, and countless iconic roles, was sitting in her corner table, dressed like a regular guy from the neighborhood. Her mind reeled, the weight of her earlier sarcasm crashing down. The patrons, now staring openly, whispered in disbelief. A woman in a sequin gown gasped, clutching her pearls. "Is that really him?" she murmured to her companion, who nodded, adjusting his Rolex in awe. Tom rose from his seat, his movements graceful, his blue eyes warm but steady. "No need for special treatment," he said, his voice calm, carrying a quiet authority that silenced the room. "I just want a good meal, like anyone else. Please let me pay, I insist." He pulled out his wallet, leaving a stack of bills on the table, his smile unchanged. Richard, flustered, waved his hands. "Absolutely not, sir. This meal is on the house. Anything you need, we're at your service." The contrast struck everyone. This Hollywood legend, worth millions, sat in Lumiere's shadows, unbothered by luxury or judgment, while Ashley's rudeness now hung heavy in the air. Her cheeks burned, her polished bun suddenly feeling like a crown of shame. She bent to retrieve her notepad, her hands trembling, avoiding the stares of the elite guests. A couple nearby exchanged pointed looks, their whispers sharp. That waitress was so rude to him, the woman hissed, her diamond bracelet glinting. Her husband nodded, his tailored suit pristine, but his expression disapproving. The older man in the dark suit, still seated alone, leaned forward, his sharp gaze fixed on Tom with admiration. He'd seen it all coming, his silence now a quiet testament to wisdom. Ashley felt the weight of every eye, the room's judgment mirroring her own earlier behavior. She wanted to vanish, but Richard's voice cut through her thoughts. "Ashley, step over here, please," he said, his tone firm but controlled, signaling trouble ahead. Tom, ever the gentleman, turned to her, his expression not angry but tinged with disappointment, a look far more piercing than rage. "We all make mistakes," he said softly, his words carrying across the hushed room. "What matters is learning from them." His voice, so familiar from the silver screen, now felt personal, a gentle rebuke that hit harder than any shout. The patrons nodded, some in awe, others in reflection, as Tom's humility transformed the room's energy from judgment to inspiration. Ashley's throat tightened, tears threatening to spill. She nodded mutely, unable to speak, feeling the lesson sink in. Little did she know, this moment would mark the beginning of a profound change, not just for her, but for everyone in Lumière that night. The dining room of Lumière, once buzzing with elite chatter, now held a reverent silence, the crystal chandeliers casting a soft glow over the stunned faces. Tom Hanks stood at his corner table, his faded jeans and gray t-shirt a stark contrast to the Armani suits and Dior gowns around him, yet his presence commanded the room. Ashley stood nearby, her hands trembling, her polished bun unraveling slightly under the weight of shame. Richard, the manager, gestured toward the kitchen, his expression stern. "Ashley, please join us in the staff room." "Now," he said, his voice firm but measured. In the staff room, a small, mirrored space behind the kitchen, the Lumière team gathered. Waiters in crisp uniforms, chefs in white coats, all whispering in disbelief. Ashley stood in the center, her cheeks flushed, tears brimming in her hazel eyes. She felt the weight of every stare, the judgment she'd once dished out now returned tenfold. Richard stood beside her, arms crossed, his face a mix of disappointment and resolve. "We've had a guest tonight who deserves our utmost respect," he began, his voice steady. "And some of us failed to show it." The door opened, and Tom stepped in, his quiet confidence filling the room. His salt and pepper hair was still tousled, his blue eyes warm but serious. The staff fell silent, some gaping, others nodding in awe. "I'm not here to point fingers," Tom said, his voice low but carrying a weight that held everyone's attention. "We all judge too quickly sometimes. It's human nature. But it's not okay, and it's something we can change." He turned to Ashley, his gaze gentle, not accusatory. "Ashley, I know you meant well. In your way," he continued. "But judging someone by their clothes or their appearance, that misses the point of who they are. Every person here, every guest, every waiter, has a story, struggles, dreams. None of that shows on the surface." His words, so familiar from his on-screen roles, now felt raw, personal, cutting through her defenses. Ashley's throat tightened, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry," she choked out, her voice barely a whisper. "I was so focused on the restaurant's image, on impressing people, that I forgot what really matters. There's no excuse for how I acted." Her polished bun sagged, her diamond studs glistening with tears, a stark reminder of her misplaced pride. Tom nodded, his smile soft. "Acknowledging a mistake is the first step," he said. "Real change comes from within. It takes courage, but it's what makes us truly human." His words resonated, echoing through the room like a sermon. The staff exchanged glances, some nodding, others wiping away tears. A young waiter murmured, "He's right. I've done the same thing." Richard stepped forward, inspired. "From today, Lumière will be known not just for its food or luxury, but for how we treat every person who walks through those doors," he declared. "No exceptions. Ashley, I expect you to lead this change, starting now." His tone was firm but hopeful, a call to action that lifted the room's mood. Ashley nodded, her resolve hardening beneath the shame. She felt a shift inside her, a desire to grow, not just to redeem herself, but to become someone kinder, more empathetic. Tom's lesson, delivered with the same humility that made him a Hollywood legend, had planted a seed. As he left the room, his quiet "take care," everyone lingered, leaving the staff in reflection. For Ashley, this night would mark the beginning of a transformation she'd carry forever. The staff room at Lumière fell quiet, the echoes of Tom Hanks' words lingering like a gentle breeze. Ashley stood straighter, her polished bun now slightly disheveled, her diamond studs catching the light as tears dried on her cheeks. The weight of shame had shifted to resolve, her hazel eyes bright with determination. The other staff, waiters, chefs, and Richard, nodded inspired, their crisp uniforms and white coats a stark contrast to the humility Tom had brought into their world. "Let's make this place reflect his lesson," Richard said, his voice firm but hopeful. "Starting tomorrow, we treat every guest with kindness, no exceptions." Days later, Lumière buzzed with a new energy. Ashley, now wearing her uniform with a softer smile, greeted every guest, whether in designer gowns or casual jeans, with genuine warmth. She no longer judged by appearances, her notepad now a tool for connection, not criticism. A family in modest clothes, once relegated to the corner, received her best service, their laughter filling the room. The older man in the dark suit, who'd observed Tom that night, returned, nodding approvingly as he watched Ashley's transformation. "You've changed the spirit here," he said, leaving a generous tip and a note. "Kindness matters." Meanwhile, Tom's quiet post on social media ignited a wildfire. A simple tweet, "Judging someone by their clothes misses their story. Be kind always," paired with a photo of his Lumière meal, went viral, racking up millions of likes, shares, and comments. News outlets picked it up, calling it Tom Hanks' Lumière lesson, and celebrities like Oprah and Ellen shared it, sparking a global conversation on empathy. Hashtags like #KindnessMatters and #LumièreChange trended, inspiring stories of people reevaluating their own judgments. Back at Lumière, the restaurant's reputation shifted. It wasn't just about luxury now. It became a symbol of compassion, drawing guests who wanted to experience its newfound heart. Ashley, now a mentor to new staff, led training sessions on empathy, her voice steady but passionate. "We're not just serving food," she told them. "We're building connections." Richard hung a framed photo of Tom in the staff room, a reminder of the night that changed them all. The story ended with a lingering question, posed to viewers through a voiceover. How often do we judge others by their appearance? Are we ready to choose kindness today, like Tom and Lumière did? The camera panned to Lumière's golden gates at sunset. Ashley smiling at a guest in simple attire, the glow of transformation lighting her face. A call to action text appeared. Share your kindness story with #LumiereChange. Let's inspire the world together.